Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. The site is freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my contact information, standard YouTube copyright. Keys to the reading: one, because I do read astrology differently. First of all, I use constellation-based astrology. Sometimes it's called true sidereal. In simple terms, it's astrology by the visible sky. In ancient times, astrologers were also astronomers. So tropical astrology, for example, fixes the signs to seasons the way they were back in the 220 ADs. I am looking at where the planets are in the sky right now, which is currently about 25 degrees out of, yeah. Tropical astrology is actually 25 degrees ahead. So, so I'm reading, telling you where the planets are in the sky right now. Tropical astrology is kind of living in the future, so to speak. With reading astrology by the visible sky, I do use 13 signs because between Scorpio and Sagittarius is a foot of a fucus. No, fucus is not a decan of Sagittarius. If you actually, again, use a map of the visible sky, you will see a fucus is actually a rather large constellation, and there's a portion of it that is in the ecliptic. It is the symbol of the wounded healer. It's a man. A symbol is of a man holding a snake by the head and tail. Snake in ancient times symbolizing knowledge. So this holding it by the head and tail means control of knowledge. And he was using the knowledge to heal himself so he could heal others with similar wounds. So there's a fucus, the missing constellation. I use the natural size of the constellations. Oops, Kit, what are you doing? I use the natural size of the constellations. There are astrologers who will make each constellation 30 degrees. That's not where they are in the sky. Mother Nature in her wisdom made them all different sizes. Virgo is just under 49, 50 degrees. Aries, Cancer, those constellations are less than 25 each. So all the constellations vary in their sizes. So I let them be that. And I use astrological midpoints. This is through Athens Shementi. He noticed when he was zooming in on the border between Scorpio and Ophiuchus that stars from Scorpius, were over the IAU boundary because the IAU just arbitrarily draws boundaries. He thought that Scorpio stars should be in Scorpio. So he looked to see where in the ecliptic, last bright star is Scorpio, first bright star Fucus, what's the midpoint? And he did that with all the other constellations. I think it works better. And I have a cat sitting on my mouse. The irony. Keys to reading part 2. My interpretation. I use evolutionary astrology, which says that the transits, the planets, the signs, they're all teachers, and that these are lessons to learn. And that being, you have freedom of choice. You can choose the high road, you can choose the low road, but you will choose. This is the weekly edition, so these are universal lessons for all of us caught here in this physical reality. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers. The dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I am outside of Buffalo, New York, with one of Kit's fleas in my cup of tea. Yes, it's been that type of a day. So I'm outside of Buffalo, New York, so all my dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone. I'm operating within 1 degree of being exact, so that makes it manageable for me. If I used wider orb, I would be overwhelmed, and if I'm overwhelmed, you're lost. And the software that I use to help me do my calculations is Capricorn by Prometheus. So these are the weekly transits for the week of July 21st through July 27th. The sun is now in Cancer, so welcome to Cancer season. Learn to take care of yourself. The moon moves from Taurus through to Leo. So Taurus, Cancer, where we'll have our full moon in Cancer on the 24th. Taurus to Gemini, then it's been one of those days. Gemini, Cancer, with the full moon in Cancer on the 24th, and then into Leo. So it's actually a fairly steady week, honestly. A little bit more on the expressive side because of the Gemini Leo domination there. So do expect maybe a little bit more expression, but still the moon will be steady. Our active planets, the inner planets, Sun is really the big player of the week, but Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the nodes of the moon, especially the nodes of the moon this week, are going to make themselves known on the inner planets, and the outer planets are really putting their foot down. The old men, yeah, the old men of the solar system, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto are all saying, okay, we're going to show these front loaders how it's done. and the real linchpin here, the real key to these outer planet transits right now is Saturn. Saturn's the big player here. So learning your self-discipline, integrity, character, those are essential. Retrograde right now. Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. Forgot to put in the sign changes. We also have 2 sign changes. Happy Monday. Mercury is going to retrograde back into Cancer. We got to go back and reflect a little bit on our self-care. And Mars is going to move into Virgo. No, cat. No playing with the mouse. So Mars is going to be moving into Virgo. Happy Monday. So this is our week. This is just the graph of the week overview. Anything above this dotted line is a holdover from last week. So you can see the Mars conjunct the south node. It is also opposing the north node. It doesn't come in on this forecast, but when I do a month-long forecast where I look at things, it shows up there. Also the same thing here with where's Venus? Venus in the north node, it is also squaring the south node as well. It doesn't come up on the weekly, but it shows up on the full lunar month. So I am including that. I think is there, especially with what the nodes of the moon carry, I think that's very important. And you can see Saturn here. Now, granted, Neptune is sextiling Pluto, so Neptune's the trigger planet there. But so it's really up. That's where that is. But new transits for the week. Honestly, you can see the Sun is the big player of the week, followed secondly by Venus. You can see a little Mars action there with the nodes of the moon, and it's being aspected by Venus, very important. Thursday, we do have the new moon at 15:47 Eastern time. That's 3:47 in the afternoon. So that's when we're really going to feel that. Thank God I'm going to be home from school by that time. Yeah, I'm teaching summer school. Friday, Mercury retrogrades into Cancer. Saturday, Mars steps into Virgo. So as you can see, again, it's a lot of transits during the week, but you're really going to feel a lot Thursday and Friday. I think are going to be the 2 big days where you feel the most. No, not really nice. And upgrade these just to reflect the retrograde. So this started way back in June. As you can see, we do have Saturn conjunct Neptune, maturing in your spirituality, learning just to be. And that's in Pisces. Great lesson of Pisces. Don't just do something, sit there. Learning to be present. So this is maturing in your spirituality, and it's retrograde. So this is more internal work, not something more in the outer world, more in your inner world, in your inner life. Are you learning to be present with yourself? Are you learning to practice inner stillness, inner calmness? Very important there. The shadow here. So you have freedom of choice. You can become a control freak. I hate to use the phrase fundamental. An example of this would be religious fundamentalists with their strict control and trying to control things that they cannot. But this can also have you slipping into dark moods and creating a desire to escape. Here you go, kid. So yeah, so this can be slipping into dark moods, pessimism, negativity, nihilism, cynicism, and just desiring to escape the world or hide away from there, or falling into illusions. Um, it's also possible to feel isolated, alone, and drifting. That's the whole shadow situation there. Pluto, we have Neptune, it started on the 29th, and this is going to go all the way through October. When the outer planets play, they play big and long. So Neptune, sextiling Pluto, again, both retrograde. Neptune doing the inner spiritual work. How is this inner spiritual work helping you to do the work of inner transformation and deep inner healing? Pluto is, I think Pluto is the misunderstood planet because Pluto is, I think in a way it would help to understand the mythos that Pluto is the god of wealth. But when everybody thinks of Pluto, they think of Hades, the god of death. So understand that the goal of Pluto is to help you do transformation, deep transformation, very deep healing. Soul work, deep soul work would be another good way of understanding it. So how is your spiritual practices, how are your spiritual practices helping you to do that deep soul work, that deep soul healing? That's the upside. The downside is falling into the illusion and collapsing into cynicism and darkness and deep emptiness. A note here I have is denial of defeat is possible only in a self-created fantasy. Pretending everything's okay when you're like deeply feeling lost. So yeah. And from back from July 10th, Saturn is now retrograde. This is a little bit of a shorter transit because Saturn's a faster mover, but again, both retrograde, both internal work. How is that deep inner work where you're working on your character, your integrity, your self-discipline, character issues? How is doing that character, I work on your character issues and being present with them, helping you to do that deep soul work and building up and building that and doing that deep transformation? Uh, yeah, practicing self-discipline, see many ways to recover what was lost and how to do it, and also to understand and be able to see the work and understand it, I think, from a higher perspective. And the shadow here, I mean, two planets that when they fall into darkness and a dark mood, this literally is the dark night of the soul because you have Saturn falling into cynicism and nihilism, and Pluto just takes that out on an exponential level. So falling in despair, self pity falls right into developing deep cynicism and a nihilistic attitude to life. Can potentially slip into deep depression. And if you find yourself falling into that trap, please get yourself some help. There are plenty of good counselors out there that can help you work through what you're working through to help you make the progress out of it. Okay. But do be aware if you're feeling that. There's a way out. There always is. From Saturday, the moon's in Taurus, emotional peace. If you really want to understand Taurus, and Taurus is the bull. Taurus is a workhorse. If you think of the bull, in ancient societies, that's what you use to do the work. You put the harness on, plowed the field, carried the burdens, etc. It was a work animal in a sense. In a sense, so it's doing the emotional work, knowing that you can do it, but it's also emotional peace and emotional rest. I always tell people, if you want to understand Taurus, get your hands on a copy of Ferdinand the Bull. Yeah, he did his work, but man, just sitting out in that field, knowing when to sit down and relax and chill out, smell the roses, take time to smell the flowers. That's really helps you to understand Taurus. Knowing when to calm yourself down physically and find the peace that comes from that. Let go of stressful activity, slow down momentarily. The shadows, falling into stubbornness, pushing forward from instinct can leave you exhausted and feeling worn out. Maybe that's part of what I'm going through. I apologize. I have been so exhausted as of late from summer school and all the other stuff I do around my property. Maybe I just need to sit out in the middle of my one of my fields, fields on my 10-acre plot here, and just sit there and chill. From Sunday, Mars is conjunct the South Node, and this is the South Node is how you hold yourself back. So this is having the courage to face the ways you self-sabotage in life, the way you hold yourself back, and holding you back in Leo, holding you back from the recognition that you deserve, and desire, and take necessary risks in order to overcome that and succeed. That's the ideal, you know? Facing down self-sabotage so that you can overcome it. The shadow is slipping into fear and anger, feeling stuck in the past, repeating the mistakes. And in Leo, this can be on the stage for all the world to see. This is Wile E. Coyote in the cartoons holding that dynamite stick and not throwing it away. I apologize for that, but that's like what I feel like right now. You know it's gonna come. The other shadow here, the other shadow of Leo is either you're playing it on the public stage or you're trying to hide away in the face of disaster. And everybody can see you trying to cover stuff up. Yeah. Mars is also at this point in time, if it's conjunct the South Node, it's opposite the North Node. And this is a time of reflection and balancing. So while you're working with that South Node, how am I holding myself back? You're looking to see what is the ideal, what is the future, what is your destiny? And it's in Pisces. So what's the vision and what's your purpose? So how are you overcoming the past so that you can achieve this future dream, this future goal? So what do I have here? I'll reflect on having the courage to be seen and yeah, help you fulfill your destiny in life. And the shadow slipping into fear has you denying or trying to escape your destiny and hide away, or just having a disaster happen on the public stage. So yeah. And yeah, that's part of the wonderful nodes. Yes, and I do like reading the nodes. I'm one of very few astrologers I know that do read them. Because the nodes are your life's destiny, and when you understand the journey of the nodes in the chart, when you understand the nodes in your chart, the South Node of the Moon, the North Node of the Moon, you understand. It's to me, it's a part of the key of understanding your life's purpose. So I think that's very important to cover the journey of the nodes. Let's jump into Monday. Venus in Taurus squaring Mars in Leo. So Venus, relationships, creativity, resting, having fun. How is that? And squares are a challenge whose purpose is to strengthen you. How are having stable relationships able to strengthen you and standing up and having the courage to stand up and be seen and be recognized? And how can this help you build a positive image in the world, and a strong image as well? The shadow here, trying to be slick and manipulative. And the square here, instead of strengthening you, becomes a stumbling block or a crushing burden. So trying to manipulate people, being lazy, getting other people to do your work, can lead to a rise in fear, either cowardice or anger. And this can lead to relationship problems and certainly pointless drama. And again, this pointless drama happens publicly. It either happens out on the public stage, or you're trying to hide it away and stuff will leak out. Sun in Gemini is also sex in Cancer. Sextiling Uranus in Taurus, or however you pronounce it. Sun in Cancer, learning to take care of yourself. And how is self-care helping you to realize who you authentically are? And how can that help you find that peace in being who you really are? So this is really, Sun in Cancer can also be healing your core identity. Best way to understand the sun, though, is look at your natal sun, because that's who you can. That's your core identity. So the sun in Cancer is healing that core identity, and that's helping you define interest in you being who you really are at heart. The shadow here, the sun in Cancer, can be very defensive, collapsing into false ego. Cancer, the crab has claws, swiping at people, defensive, or trying to hide away, and that has you lose your individuality. You can be seen as senseless or helpless, or Uranus can also act out and be someone that it's not. Either which way, this defensive identity has you being coming out as someone that you are not, whether it's this over the top eccentric or this sellout conformist. Tuesday, Venus in Taurus is squaring the North Node in Pisces. And anytime something's squaring the North Node, it's going to square the South Node. So this is a T-square, and I will sum this all up at the end. This is going to be a quick transit too. So again, finding that peace and strength and stability in your relationships, squaring the North Node, this strengthens you. Remember, the square is a symbol of strength. This is a challenge that strengthens you to North Node in Pisces. Strengthens you to achieve your purpose in life, or help you do work and make progress towards understanding your purpose in life. So this is you working with other people, and then they can help potentially provide insights to what your purpose is and how you can best achieve it. Yeah. And Venus is also, and I need to remember this, Venus, while it deals with relationships, Venus is also your creativity. Venus governs the arts, and this includes like musical skills. Theatrical, I put more in Leo, but still that is in art. So, but that performance art or the creative arts like drawing, painting, different types of sculpture, etc. So also be looking at that. How is art how is getting your artistic self and being at peace with that artistic sense? How is that, in working with your artistic sense, how is that helping you understand and fulfill your destiny and purpose? Shadow here, being slick, manipulative, and late or lazy, can have you crushing or denying your life's intentions. And if it's squaring the North Node, it's squaring the South Node. So again, peace in relationships help you see how pointless drama can hold you back. So this is you helping others to see it, but this is others helping you as well. So how are your relationships helping you to see and recognize, pointless drama? And how you've held yourself back in relationships with it, or held yourself back in your creativity. And in the shadow, shallow or manipulative or being lazy has you repeating the mistakes of the past and sabotage any hopes of the future. And I think that is an excellent summary of this. So you have, let me get my doodle tool here. You have Venus in that square. Am I going to draw this? Yeah. And if you think of it, and this is, oh gosh, I haven't talked with her in a long time. What's her name? She's out of Chicago. Her name will come to me because I was doing her chart reading for her. It's like, oh, this is like a person with a barbell. When you caught in a T-square, that's literally a barbell. And again, within your relationships, your creativity, if you're recognizing how past drama has held you back, it can help you to see what your vision and purpose in life is, and you can work with both of them to strengthen yourself. The shadow is that becomes a burden that's so heavy that it kind of like, we've all seen the videos on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, of this person who's trying to bench too much and they got that barbell crushing them across their chest and they're trying to push it off, and it just becomes this crushing and overwhelming burden. They're all drawings closed. And also on Tuesday, we have the moon entering Gemini. Emotionally, you're curious. Let go, and this is in the waning cycle. So this is letting go of what no longer interests you. Think of a little house cleaning here, a little emotional house cleaning, or something no longer emotionally attached to. Let it go so that the new can come in and you can open the doors up and have space for the new. So letting go of what no longer interests you can open up opportunities to learn about what does. Be willing to experiment and experience something new. Gemini is the joy. To me, in a way, it's the joy of discovery, and it's the joy of curiosity. And falling into the shadow here is clinging to the past, leaves you distracted, lost in thought, kind of tied up in rehashing the past, so to speak. Wednesday, hey, a lot of sun stuff happening. Sun in Cancer is trining Saturn retrograde in Pisces. The sun in Cancer, like I said, emotional self-care. How is that? And trine is support. It's an easy energy to work with. Put in a little bit and you get a lot out. How is healing your identity helping you to mature and grow and learn in your ability to be present and in the moment? And possibly in your spiritual practices as well. That's tying the Neptune. I know that definitely ties, the spirituality does tie in with the Neptune. It's kind of hard right now not to talk about Saturn without talking about Neptune because they are conjunct in Pisces, but we'll do a little tie up with that. So focusing on self-care can support the inner work of building self-discipline and maturity. This is character issues. So healing your identity helps you build your character. It also can strengthen self-respect and your integrity and help you to rise above and see situations from a higher perspective and understand them better. And the shadow here, slipping into that false ego, pride, being defensive, can get you caught in a cycle of pessimism, self-created defeatism, and that has its roots in your imagination or in fantasy and delusion. So this is really being this wounded defensive person leads you to self-sabotage in a way. Saturn is one of your life, is kind of like one of your life's purposes. I do look at the nodes of the moon for life's purpose. Saturn is kind of the great work of your life and the natal chart. And here's how, and the journey of Saturn is how you're building your integrity and character to achieve that. And in Pisces here, it just gets lost in this fantasy. And right now, if anything that's aspecting Saturn is also aspecting Neptune. So again, how is this healing yourself? How is this healing of your identity helping you in your spiritual journey? So focusing on your self-care can aid in building your spirituality and your sense of belonging and help you to be present and responding to your actual inner needs. On many levels, really. And again, slipping into that false sense of pride, that wounded identity, woe is helpless me, has you slipping and feeling lost, drifting aimlessly and purposeless in an illusion. And it's also possible, again, and this is tying that Saturn and definitely feeling lonely and lost and isolated. So yeah, so playing into the shadow here, the wounded sun, the defensive woe is me, I'm helpless routine really has you feeling lost and drifting and alone. Did I mention we have sun transits? Again, the sun in Cancer here. Let's pile it on higher and deeper and go deeper because we are dealing with Pluto. So this is an opposition. So sun in Cancer, again, self-care. Opposite, reflecting on this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Pluto doing that deep inner transformational work. So in essence, this is two levels of deep healing. Healing your core identity, that's level one. But now you're doing deeper, more transformational work. Deep soul work. So reflect on how the one actually helps the other and balancing and keeping the two in balance. I think that's going to be a very important lesson here, is keeping the two in balance, because the shadow here is a tug of war. That wounded identity, oh, woe is me, and that deep, the soul falling into deep cynicism and nihilism and defensiveness and feelings of impossibility. So living in that false identity can lead to a struggle or imbalance and feelings of cynicism or deep darkness. Life can feel lonely and empty as it descends into isolation and darkness. So it's possible here for deep transformational healing on multiple levels, or it's possible to drag yourself deeper into darkness. And let's add to that, the moon enters Cancer. So the moon rules Cancer too. So learning to be gentle with yourself, time to let go of that self-criticism, but be gentle with yourself. Take time to rest, emotional rest, especially because the moon is your emotions. Moon, I've heard some people, done some reading on it. There are some astrologers, and I tend to agree with them. The moon is also the soul, can be the soul. I think that does fit in there a way. But heal yourself doing the inner work, find time for peace and quiet. But we know that the emotional self, it can whine and complain. And in Cancer, it plays the victim, oh, woe is me, and being defensive and have you feeling sorry. People can feel sorry for you and nothing else, or want nothing to do with you at all. Sometimes people just don't want to, help someone who's just feeling helpless. I hate to say that, but that's life. And Thursday afternoon at 15:47, that's, oh man, I put that in twice. I was going to delete. I had that in my notes. Delete that time in the upper part because you got it down on the side. But nonetheless, I'm here. The new moon in Cancer. This is the moon conjunct the sun. And this is a spotlight on deep emotional healing and how that helps or affects and impacts your core identity. And focus on learning to heal your emotional self, or it could be the inner child here. That when I was writing this out by hand, I got my notes, I was writing things out, inner child. It's like, oh, wow, yeah, healing your inner child in a way. Take quiet time and alone time to rest from the world. Also look at your relationship with yourself. Anytime we have the sun and the moon coming together, your emotional self and your identity, what is your relationship to yourself? And here it's taking time to nurture it and care for it, and take time to break. That's almost time for my viewers in the UK. For us over here on the East Coast, this is almost a perfect time for 4 o'clock tea with cucumber sandwiches and a scone. Shadow here, emotionally defensive and slipping into moodiness. And this is the ego just blowing itself out of proportion, whether it's over the top or trying to hide away. Woe is me. Slipping into moodiness and drama can come across as selfishness. Blinding yourself to the world around you, playing up false pride, can have you feeling lonely and isolated. Cancer, you're trying to hide away. And it's also being defensive on many levels. Very big. I might do a tea break at 4 o'clock just to celebrate it. Friday, Mercury retrogrades into Cancer. And people say, they get in a big panic about retrograde. Retrograde just means reflection. So Mercury is slipping back into Cancer because there's something we need to relearn or reflect on. Did we learn all the lessons that we needed to learn on self-care? And let's remember that Mercury deals with communication. So it's listening, but it's also talking. What's your self-talk? What are you saying to yourself? I dare say this could be words that wound you. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. But reflect what you're learning about healing and how to take care of yourself. This is a time of inner work and a time of inner reflection. So I do want to bring up that self-talk. What are those the person we talk to the most is ourself. So open your mind to the opportunities to learn, be willing to change your perspective if needed, and listening to what you're saying. Maybe you want to learn a little bit about self-talk. How can you change what you're saying so that it brings healing to your life? And the shadow, Mercury, can get stuck in its mind and this is just rehashing the past over and over, and get stuck in a defensive mindset, playing a helpless victim, or becoming hesitant to take risks, trying to feel invisible, trapped in your own thoughts, isolated and alone, or being defensive, just defensive in your words. And what's going on up here? I think that's very important. Pay attention to what's going on in your mind. Pay attention to your self-talk. Pay attention to what you're thinking. Is it nurturing? Is it caring? Is it defensive? How can you use your words? How can you use your own words to bring healing into your life? And we have the moon entering Leo. Emotionally, you're ready. This is very interesting with Mercury retrograde. You're ready to express yourself, stand up, be seen. And be seen or heard. So learn how you express yourself emotionally and take opportunities when they happen. And I like to say, hope for the best. Hopefully you come across in a proper manner. The shadow is painting up pointless drama to the crowd. And whether it's this pointless over the top drama or woe is me trying to hide away, it can come across as superficial and feel empty and kind of pointless in its own way. And this is where the moon's going to be to the rest of the week. So do take those opportunities to learn how to express yourself appropriately. And on Saturday, oh boy, Saturn again, Saturn to me right now is the linchpin of a lot of these transits. Well, it's central to all these transits, really. Outside of that, Neptune to Pluto, Saturn is just that sense of maturity, integrity, and building your character and being in the moment with it. Is sextiling Uranus. How is building that inner character helping you to let go of what's not authentic to you so you can become more authentic of your authentic self and become stronger in it and more at peace? And also finding the strength that comes from that. So this is doing that inner character work, learning who you really are so you can become more of your authentic self, letting go of who you are not. Will help you realize that. Shadow, slipping into fear and despair, can have you lose sight of who you really are and become someone less than that. Cynicism, pessimism can lead to laziness, inaction, and being someone that you are not, whether it's that over-the-top eccentric and just doing stuff to get a reaction from people. And in Taurus, it's lazy, but it can also be the bull in the china shop, doing stuff to get a reaction, or you're selling out and trying to fit in. Either which way, you're trying to get the easy way out of a situation, and it's very empty and unfulfilling. Also on Saturday, Mars enters Virgo. Here's the courage to face the fact that you need to skill up. Virgo is about self-improvement. So this is going to be, and Virgo is the longest transit in the sky for any planet. It is the largest constellation at just under 40, depending on who's doing the measurements. I've seen 48.5 degrees, but just under 50 degrees, give or take. And it's about self-improvement and getting yourself better. And this is the courage to do the work of self-improvement, recognizing where you're lacking in skills so that you can, again, Mars is definitely one of the take action planets. And so it's taking the action to do self-improvement. Learn, and also learning skill of courage and assertiveness. I have that in my notes as well. Sometimes you got to learn to stand up for yourself. It helps you to achieve, this improvement. Working on, this is in quotes, working on, and I was reading up, I was like, what else? I feel like I'm missing something. So I was reading my literature on it. And that inner warrior, I really like that phrase. I think that was from Stephen Forrest. I'll give credit because I think that's what I was reading, Stephen Forrest. This is in working on the inner warrior and developing that skill. And what you need to achieve victory. Look at those, look to those who have succeeded for ideas. We all have our heroes. Look to your heroes. What can they teach you? It's kind of ironic because I was given a copy of Heroes, that TV series. It's like, hey, Don, you got to watch this. Okay, I'll watch it. It's kind of interesting. So look at the journey of Hero, and becoming who he is. That's pretty. It's supposed to be a pretty good movie series or TV series. But this is doing that work of getting better at being skilled. So do pay attention to that. Look to the house where this is happening, because that's going to tell you what skills you really need to focus on developing. The shadow, Mars, slipping into fear or anger. So this is cowardice or explosive over the top, and focusing on perfectionism. The shadow of Virgo is an unachievable perfectionist attitude, can lead to self-defeat and failure, crippling self-criticism and pessimism, will set you back and are actually the bedrock to the road to failure and lead to pointless victim dramas. Ick. Sunday, Venus in Taurus is sextiling Chiron. And Chiron is the asteroid of healing. So Venus and Taurus, finding peace, stability in your relationships, can help to bring in healing. And so, in healing and releasing the wounds in your relationships. And also healing your creativity well. How can art be a healing experience? Let's throw that card on the table as well. So finding peace and strength in your relationships or creativity, create an interest in healing and release the wounds of the past. Know what to forgive and how. During this transit is the when. The shadow, manipulative, being lazy and manipulative of others or looking for the easy way out can result in deeper wounds. Chiron would be deeper wounding or denial of the wounds at all. Can deeper wounds everyone involved and suffer, and relationships can suffer, creativity can suffer and become shallow and feel empty and also alone. And there we go. Finally got through this with all this technological issues. I've been having issues with Zoom crashing out on my computer. I've got to find something else that it does this conversion, and part of it is an audio to text. And I don't use it. I don't even know why it's there. If I could disable it, I would. Do follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube is where I post these weekly forecasts. Facebook and Instagram is where I like to do daily deep dives, where I take one of the transits and explore it on a deeper level. These companies here are making billions of dollars off your data. Digital Soul Space is run by Mighty Networks, is hosted on Mighty Networks, I should say. And its purpose is to allow you to control your data. You decide what they have access to. Your identity is shielded, so they don't know if there's whatever. But and it's a troll-free zone. I can't tell you how many times I've gone on to a page on one of the other sites, and you get these trolls, for moderators. If they see something inappropriate and they hear about it, they're right on it. And yeah, there have unfortunately been some people removed because they're jerks, but hey, that happens. But it's a very safe space. I do astrology on there. There's a couple other astrologers, but if you're like into crystals or tarot or oracle decks or different types of spirituality, It's a safe place to go and post your questions and know that people are going to answer, and everybody will share what they have to offer. Wonderful, great place. I am now a member of the ISAA, International Sidereal Astrology Association. So I've got to finish setting some things up in there, but they do have a convention coming up. So do follow me on those. I do readings, astrology readings, quick six. If you want to see how your chart changes from tropical to true sidereal, that's an easy way out. I cover 6 essential points, and you get a recording of that and a copy of your chart. I do birth or natal chart readings, and the way I read them is that's your birth contract. That's who you came here to become. It's not the beginning, it's the end. You came here to become this person, and I'll let you know who that is. I do a karmic reading, which can also be a past life. So if you believe in past lives, this is a karmic wound that you suffered that you came to this life to heal. So I tell you what the wound is, how it shows up in this lifetime, and then how you heal it. If you're a one and done, this is a special lesson you came here to learn. And I also do horoscopes, year long, 2 different styles, any 3 months in a row or any 1 month in a row. It can be the first of the month, the last of the month. I like to run new moon to new moon because that's the natural cycle. The year can be any 12 months in a row. And I do have packages where I combine these different readings together, and there's a 10% discount built in. Escape here. I want to go here. Hopefully this loads. Zoom has really been crapping up my computer as of late. It works worse when I have it running. You go on, all I need is an email address. You get a once a month or once a week email from me. That email list, if you're on that email list, if I do specials, that email list is who gets it. If you click on services, that's how you place orders for individual readings. Scheduling is where you get the packages. And what we're doing with that, with our first meeting, is just lay out what your expectations are on the time of delivery, and etc. We dig into that. Blog is where you go to find the daily deep dives, etc. Contact if you want to read, get a hold of me and ask questions. There's that. Do you want to talk a little bit about the ISAA? Hopefully this loads. Yes, because they have a free conference coming up on the Saturday, the 27th of September, from 10 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. I believe that's Eastern time. It's free. Some great astrologers there, some great panels, discussions. Live Q&A, so be able to ask questions, get answers from some awesome astrologers, people that I turn to and whose blogs and stuff I read, and people I've studied with or learned from. There's some there's prizes. I'm not sure what that is, but that'll be great. So awesome place to go to. Let me get back here. So do like, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. And remember, in the visible sky, your life changes. Thank you very much. Have the best possible week. And if you do know an alternative to Zoom, because I'm really getting tired of all the AI stuff and gumming up, and their customer service is a contradiction in terms, please contact me because I would like to know what the alternatives are. Thank you very much. Have the best possible week.